All right. Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to all the hopeful elect, pushing out this word in truth and in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. This is Brother Quad from the DC camp. Come back at you with another lesson, and I'm going to title this one, Order Out of Chaos. All right? Ordo ab Chao, which is a Masonic motto, as you see on the screen. It says, what is the meaning of the Masonic motto, Order ab Chao, translated to order from chaos? It says, of the many symbols and phrases of Freemasonry, a few mottos are important enough to prominently and sometimes publicly display on flags, seals, or regular. It says the phrase Order ab Chao is the motto of the 33rd degree, which can be found on the grand decorations of the Order of the Sovereign Grand Inspectors General, one of the highest honors and robes which can be bestowed upon a Mason. It is also featured on other seals and flags representing various orders. It says this phrase, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says this phrase being depicted so prominently, particularly in relation to the 33rd degree, indicates a tremendous importance to Freemasonry. Indeed, Order ab Chao, translated to order from chaos, is also associated with another Latin phrase, lux in tenebris, which translates to light from darkness. Why is the idea of order from chaos or light from darkness so significant to Freemasonry? Let's explore. Which we're not gonna go all the way into this, But remember, from the ashes shall they rise like the phoenix, And that's what they ultimately want, man. And that darkness or that chaos represents great confusion, And that's what's happening in this place, man. And then they're gonna try to they're gonna try to build up, man. They're gonna try to ultimately, this is about the new world order that they're trying to bring about, man. In order to bring about that new world order, they have to destroy this old world, man. And that's what this thing is about, man. All right, let me get this quick scripture, and then we're going to continue with this lesson. This is 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Now, Order ab Chao, this is the device of Satan, man, of the devil, the rulers of this world. All right, let me show you guys this. It's also known as Hegelian dialectic, which is pressure from above, pressure from beneath. And this is how it's done. It says there's an agenda, centralized power, oligarchy. There's a thesis, a terror event, either fake or real, which I'm also ultimately referring to that killing of George Floyd. It could be fake, it could be real. But one thing we do know, that this is a device of Satan, man. Because look how quickly, when all your enemies start to agree with you, you might want to look more carefully into that, man. That's why the scriptures tell you never trust thine enemy, man. But we're gonna get that. All right, it says fake the real, because it could be fake or real, man. But it's ultimately fulfilling its purpose. It says antithesis, increasing police state, and that's exactly what happened. Now you had this coronavirus. All right, you had this coronavirus that put military presence or the National Guard presence inside these states, chiefly where you Jakes are, man. All right, since they said that you are the most prone to getting that virus, right? And then right after that, you got this thing happening with these massive protests, okay? And then guess what's next? The removal of freedoms, transfer of power. The Hegelian dialectic is any systemic reasoning, exposition, or argument that juxtaposes opposed or contradictory ideas and usually seeks to resolve their conflict. All right? It's problem, reaction, solution. This is about the one world agenda. It says problem, reaction, solution, Hegelian dialectic, agenda, one world religion, thesis, problem. The world is unjust and corrupt. Average person is powerless. Antithesis: God must be cruel and unjust to allow this corruption. Solution: offer a new way to live in harmony and abandon old traditional belief structures that offer peace through the use of blending science with all religious doctrines. They got a couple of different theses. It says the government creates and exploits a problem, then attributes blame to others. The populace reacts by asking the government for protection and help to solve the problem. The government offers the solution that was planned by them long before the crisis occurred. Outcome: rights and liberties exchanged for the illusion of protection and help. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, they've been having racism. We've been getting killed all this time. Now, all of a sudden, they want to take notice to it. And then you got all these Edomites that's taking parts, man. You know? But this is all a part of their plan, man. This whole Black Lives Matter thing has resurfaced. And that is funded by George Soros. There was a video that came out where George Soros actually pays them, man. You know, that's why most of these protests is filled with Edomites, man. You know, most of the rioting and looting it's Edomites doing it, but guess who they're gonna blame? They're gonna blame Jake. And there's no new thing under the sun, as the scriptures say, man. You know, let me get this scripture real quick. You know, because Jake, they plan on Jake's emotion. Jake is tired of this happening to them. But they keep seeking Esau, man. They keep seeking Esau, and this is ultimately why 2/3 of Jake is going to be destroyed. This is Sirach 12 and verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away." Now, is these also posts that's going around where you got these guards, National Guards, they kneeling, all right, they kneeling with Jacob, but then afterwards, you know, when the cameras is gone, they beating the shit out of him, man. This is the things that's happening, man. It says, "Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith." And that's what's going to happen, man. And this is why we try to warn you, hey, man, if you, scripture say, don't join hand in hand, the wicked should not go unpunished, man. If these Edomites really cared about you, man, all right, they and what they believe is voting is going to change something. Well, they should, instead of all that protesting they was doing, they should have been voting, man. Because it's ironic that these protests happen right around the time when you have to vote for the government at your local level, man. You know, you got all these people posting Black Lives Matter, all these people doing protests, but they not signing the petitions and things to change the way things is going now. Oh, they not signing the petition for you Jakes to get what's it called? Your reparations, man. It's all lip service. All right, it says, verse 13, "Who will pity a charmer that has been bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts?" Yeah, you coming, you playing with the enemy, man, and we trying to warn you. It says, "For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry." Yeah, so when you begin to fall, he not gonna stay with you. He's not gonna bear with you, man. When they pin these rioting things on you and they start shooting with they National Guards, what you think these Edomites gonna do, man? It says 16, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance." And that's what you're going to see, man. All these Edomites you claim you know, and some Jake's starting to see it, man. All these Edomites they grew up friends with, these Edomites don't give a fuck about how they feel, man, in their struggles, you know. But back to the topic. Let me go back. You know, this dude, this dude, what's his name? George Floyd was a Mason, man. And my man Larry Johnson, man, he been trying to expose these guys on Twitter. It says, former NFL player, it says, just like Trayvon Martin, y'all rioting and looting over a Freemason sacrifice to bring you closer to dying in the street. Enjoy, though, via Stephen Jackson's Instagram. And Stephen Jackson claims to be like him and George Floyd is like brothers, right? It says, my father's Mason brother, 33, gave me something to cherish. My dad's gear will be following your footsteps, Pops. Rest easy. Salute to all his Mason brothers. You know? So they all Masons, man. Stephen Jackson, they all Masons, man. You know? And so was George Floyd. Read these comments. Why do you think out of all the police brutality deaths, Trayvon Martin and George Floyd are the biggest protests nationwide? America will not be honest with itself spiritually or financially, and it will cost the lives of ignorant. Now, there's killings going on daily, but they choose which ones to post and get you riled up about, man. Hey, these protests happen almost immediately, man. You know, and this guy George Floyd was an actor, or you know, he had that. What's it called? He had that tattoo on him, man. But this is what people saying. Look, George Floyd was already an actor. People found him in a video, a pornographic video on X videos. I think he might even be a former monarch boy. For all we know, this is all a ploy to militarize and enact martial law. And that's what the point that I wanted to get to. All right. Now you had all these governors imploring Trump to act. Look at this. This is an article from the nationalreview.com. It says the president has the constitutional power to restore order. He must act. You see that? Order out of chaos. They create the chaos, and now he's going to come and restore order. How are they going to restore order? Putting you jakes into subjection, man. You know, Trump coined himself the law and order president, man. It says a burned out LAPD car is seen as people protest in Los Angeles. What has happened over the last few nights in major cities of the United States is unacceptable. It has gotten worse because of the federal and state passivity. It says law enforcement is a vital response to any riotous uprising. Indeed, I believe the failure to enforce the laws without apology from the start of the upheaval last week has fueled its ferocity. It would be naive to claim that much of the violence which is being incited and corroborated by radical groups, see that, might not have happened anyway. These groups are also, these groups are always on a hair trigger, pouncing on any opportunity to make mayhem. But how badly things get out of control has a lot to do with the resolve of the state and federal enforcement. The laws do not enforce themselves. So these governors, they was pushing Trump to sign to mobilize. It says progressive dogma, notwithstanding, rioting spearheaded by radicals and anarchists does not exhaust itself if governments just give them time and space. Just give them time and space to get their yah-yahs out. Passivity conveying the message that the laws will not be enforced is provocative. It increases the appetite for rioting, which is only stated once the sociopaths have run out of things to burn and loot. And they talking about you jakes, man. You know, the law said, that said, law enforcement on its own is inadequate to restore order once order has been lost. Police and prosecutorial offices simply do not have the resources to quell widespread seditionist violence. Consequently, other provisions of the law must be considered. Under Article 4 of the Constitution, I believe it says, It says the United States guarantees every state Republican form of government protection against invasion and on request of the state government protection from domestic violence. And this is domestic violence, man. This is from the Americans that's doing this. It says in furtherance of this provision, Congress enacted legislation notably the Insurrection Act of 1807, which empowers the president to suppress in any state any insurrection, domestic violence, unlawful combination, or conspiracy. Obviously, suppressing such attacks requires deploying the United States armed forces as needed, and that's what the Insurrection Act was. Now, seeing on social media, you had all these governors, these Edomite governors, telling Trump that he needs to act, man. He needs to invoke the Insurrection Act. Now, back to the coronavirus, they was able to set up all these camps, these medical camps, which is going to be used as concentration camps, man. You know? Look, following Hurricane Katrina, the Insurrection Act was beefed up to enable presidents to respond to natural disasters, public health emergencies, terrorist attacks, and other catastrophic conditions. As one might expect, state governors worried that this amendment was a federal power grab that would erode authority of state and local governments over the internal affairs and thrust the military to domestic policing. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 had long barred the deployment of the armed forces for domestic law enforcement purposes. Posse Comitatus, however, has always been subject to express constitutional and statutory exceptions, and the Insurrection Act is such an exception. You know, and you can see right here, meanwhile, Trump signed an executive order on social media. You know? So during all this, nobody's able to expose people. And I know in DC they had during these riots they had cut the internet, and then the phones and things wouldn't work, man. All in the name of public safety, man. You know? So these are the things that's happening, man. Let me get another scripture real quick. This is Second Esdras 15 verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and to them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Now, that's exactly what's happening, man. You know? And this thing is starting off as a civil war. You know? Well, these people that's protesting, they really think they're going against their government, man. And a lot of it is set up. A lot of their leaders are set up, man. I remember that happened in Ferguson when Trayvon Martin died. Michael Brown died, man. The whole protest was hijacked, man. You know? But they not regarding their kings, man. You know? It says and it's going to happen to so like in the midst of this, I seen even posts from around my way. The racial wars is heightening, man. You know? Jake is going at it with these Edomites, man. It says, let me keep going. Verse 17, it says, "And man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." Now, what you think is going to happen, man, when because right now they got these curfews, man. You know, in certain areas, you know, certain areas it's temporary, but they can make this mandatory for as long as this thing goes on. They got 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock is when you gotta have curfew, man. You know, so hey, man, what you think is gonna happen when this thing is still going on, where a lot of Jake is still out of work, man. I think it said like a third of the nation is out of work. And a lot of that is Jake's. What you think is going to happen, man, when you don't have enough food and they telling you to stay in the house, man? You know? See, this is the chaos that they're forming. But they're going to try to bring that order to it, man. You know? Now, this was Trump's response. Trump threatens military force if violence in states isn't stopped. This is June the 2nd. Let me see.
Coronavirus. Stay informed with the facts. Join Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
We truly are all in this together.
For CNN's new podcast, Coronavirus, Fact versus Fiction. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Demonstrations at Lafayette Park across from the White House, peaceful until this.
And all of a sudden, they're eyeball to eyeball.
Law enforcement in riot gear approach a barrier. Protesters on the other side, hands up in the air, chanting, "Don't shoot." But that's exactly what they did, shooting tear gas and rubber bullets. These horrifying sounds heard in the White House Rose Garden, where the president starts to speak.
I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
The real-time split screen tells a different story. Peaceful protesters forcibly moved. A photojournalist hit with the police shield while trying to report and capture the scene. The president mostly sidestepped the frustration and despair triggered by George Floyd's death at the knee of a white police officer, instead condemning violence in cities across the country.
These are acts of domestic terror. The destruction of innocent life and the spilling of innocent blood is an offense to humanity and a crime against God. America needs creation, not destruction.
And a warning to governors and mayors where protests are erupting, not coincidentally, largely run by Democrats.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Then, the reason peaceful protesters were forcibly moved became more clear, to make way for the president to stage a photo op.
Now I'm going to pay my respects to a very, very special place. Thank you very much.
A walk across the street for the cameras, aides in tow through Lafayette Park. Destination, historic St. John's Church, where presidents have prayed since James Madison. But this president did not come to pray. A fire damaged part of it the night before, a useful backdrop.
We have a great country.
He didn't use many words, but they weren't necessary. The image, holding up a Bible in front of that church, was what he wanted to convey. Inviting up staff, all white, perhaps not part of the script he intended, but a stark visual nonetheless.
That's enough on that, man. But you see, he said that they need I forgot his words, you know? But he pretty much said that if they don't act, then he gonna act, and he's gonna quickly solve it, man. You know? And that's what's gonna happen, and there's no new thing under the sun. Now I was watching this other video in Virginia. Like I said, there's no new thing under the sun. It says police chief details emotional rescue amid Richmond riot. Now, what had happened was they said that the protesters, the rioters, they set on fire these buildings, all right? They set on fire these buildings, and then they blocked the firefighters from getting it.
The policies that we see in Minneapolis.
Well, the baby was inside.
The response along each night before actors that I'll go into in just a few minutes have taken over the protest and have changed the tone. We've noticed on many occasions that those that started out amongst the peaceful protest, once it turns violent, they are immediately leaving the area, but oftentimes still being assaulted and battered. And again, there's one incident I think is particularly poignant that truly illustrates the seriousness of the issues that we're facing. The mayor mentioned this. Last night, protesters intentionally set a fire to an occupied building on Broad Street. This was not the only occupied building that has been set fire to over the last 2 days, but they prohibited us from getting on scene. We had to force our way to make a clear path for the fire department. Protesters intercepted that fire apparatus several blocks away with vehicles and blocked that fire department's access to the structure fire. Inside that home was a child. Officers were able to
Enough of that, man. That damn devil, man. You know. See, now they invoking up the sensitivity of the people, man. Hey, this race war is gonna pop off, man. And Trump already declared Antifa a terrorist group, you know, and that's just domestic terrorists. That's just introducing you, man. They gonna deem you Jake's domestic terrorist, man. You know, and this struck me because they talking about the fires, and it's the same thing that Nero did, man. It's the same thing that happened, man. You know, like I said, no new thing under the sun, man. You know, Nero wanted to build a new Rome. He wanted to build a new Rome. He burned down Rome to build another one, but guess what? He blamed Jake on it about it. You know, let me see if I can find that point. Claudius. Look, I'm gonna just read from the top. It says, he was a Roman emperor from 54 to 68, the last ruler of the Julio Claudian dynasty. He was adopted by his great uncle Claudius and became Claudius' heir and successor. Right? And I ain't want to make this lesson this long, you know. Let me see. Got a couple things I wanted to do before, you know. And Claudius Caesar, all right, according to Acts 18, all right, it says, let me get it. Acts 18 says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome and came unto them. Yeah, because they expelled the Jews out of Rome, man. It says, like Claudius, Nero became emperor with the consent of the Praetorian Guard. I gotta look that up. Nero's mother, Agrippa the Younger, dominated Nero's early life and decisions until he cast her off and had her killed 5 years into his reign. This is the type of people that we under, man. You know? I'm trying to find the part that I wanted. Yeah, the Bosporan kingdom was briefly annexed to the empire, and the first Jewish-Roman war began. Nero focused much of his attention on diplomacy, trade, and cultural life. Oh man, where is? Man, I had it. Okay, here we go. Boom. The Great Fire, right? It says, the Great Fire of Rome erupted on the night of 18 to 19 July AD 64. The fire started on the slope of the Aventine overlooking Circus Maximus. Tacitus, the main ancient source for information about the fire, wrote that countless mansions, residences, and temples were destroyed. So like obviously mansions is where the upper class people live, man. You know, it says Tacitus and Cassius Dio have both written the extensive damage to the Palatine which has been supported by subsequent archaeological excavations. The fire is reported to have burned for over a week. It destroyed 3 of 14 Roman districts and severely damaged 7 more. Tacitus wrote that some ancient accounts described the fire as an accident, while others had claimed that it was a plot of Nero's. Tacitus is the only surviving source which does not blame Nero for starting the fire. He says he is unsure. Yeah, Pliny the Elder all wrote that Nero was responsible for the fire. These accounts give several reasons for Nero's alleged arson, like Nero's envy of King Priam and a dislike for the city's ancient construction, which Trump, he's been saying, well, not the actual construction, but he's been saying how he inherited a broken system, man. You know? Which we ultimately know this is ultimately about the whole New World Order. It says, Ceotinus wrote that Nero started the fire because he wanted space to build his golden house. You know? And this is the part that I wanted right here. It says, I can't even highlight it. Anyways, it says Tacitus wrote that Nero accused Christians of starting the fire to remove suspicion from himself. According to this account, many Christians were arrested and brutally executed by being thrown to the beast, crucified, and being burnt alive, man. You see that? And there's no new thing under the sun. But you can read the rest of that. You know, I just wanted to get that point right there, man. And all of this, man, is to stop. See, COVID-19, Black Lives Matter, that's a distraction, man, playing on emotions. Meanwhile, they about to shut down this internet, man. See, all of this is to stop Jake, you know, from coming to the Lord, man. You know? Now, this is the time that's coming, man. I say all that to say that this is what's coming. Jeremiah 30, verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be removed, Salah, but he shall be saved out of it, man. You know? But that time of Jacob's trouble is going to be death in many ways, man, for a lot of you Jakes, man, unless you come back to the Lord. And that's ultimately what they're trying to stop. See, and the elder Yashawamba, he did a beautiful video on it. You know how these Christians, with the main thing which they held us, you know, they binded our mind with Christianity, the people's mind with Christianity for a while. Well, see, we've been pulling down them strongholds, man. You know, this world, and a lot of, it's going down, man. So now they have to hijack it with Black Lives Matter, man. You know, to try to stop this thing from happening, man. Which they did. Let me get this real quick. This is Ezra 4, verse 1. It says, now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple to the Lord Yahweh of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your power as ye do. And that's what these crackers are going to try to say. It says that we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Asaradan, if I'm saying that correctly, king of Assur, which brought us up hither. But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our God, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord Yahweh of Israel, the Lord power of Israel, Yahweh power of Israel, as King Cyrus the king of Persia have commanded us. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in the building and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus the king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius the king of Persia. You know, so they tried to frustrate the purpose, man. You know, and that's ultimately what they're gonna do, man. And they about to bring this, and it's moving pretty fast, man. You know, this thing can happen, man. As the stage is set, they got the chip, they got everything, man. They just needed this major crisis, man, and maybe this could be it to round you Jakes up, man. They got the camps already, all right. Let me see. I think that was it, man. You know, you people. I was reading this article. You know, It says GTTF testimony draws link back to drugs looted from Baltimore pharmacies in 2015 riot after Freddie Gray's funeral, meaning that it was these cops, man. These cops is the ones who was looting, man. So it just goes to show you, man, that they setting these things up, man. This Revelation 12 verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell therein. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. And that's why he's coming with this wrath, man. You know? And we not ignorant, man. We not ignorant of his devices. We see what's going on, man. You know? Because this is went longer than I wanted. I'm going to just grab this last scripture and I'm going to close. You know? But yeah. This is what's happening, man. All right? This is the order out of chaos, man. But this is what their intent was from the start. All right? And we've been warning you that this time was coming, man. You know? This is Psalm 64. Let me see. I start from the top. It says, hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. You know? Because the scriptures say that they're going to be spoiling them that fear the Lord, man. It says, who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. And they shooting, they coming up with these legislations. They gonna shoot at us and fear not, when you ain't supposed to touch the Lord's anointed, man. You know? But that's what they doing. They want to come for us, man. You know? It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter, like Trump was saying. They commune and lay in snares, because this is a trap, privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Because you got even Trump's, their own people is exposing them. You got Anonymous. This is another reason why Trump wanted to get rid of the internet, man. You know? It says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in Yahweh and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. And that's what we're going to do, man. But, hey, for the most part, a lot of you, 2/3, you're going to get caught up in this, man. You're going to get caught up in this, and it's not going to be good, man. So, hey, Lord willing, that was edifying.